Now, one of the things that we are seeing coming from China or from the EVs in China is that technology-wise, those EVs that are being produced outside of China, they cannot compete with those that are coming from the Chinese EV companies. This has led into so many of the car brands or popular car brands like Ford, Mercedes, and others really commending the kind of technology that they are seeing onto, of course, Chinese EV cars. I mean, just yesterday we were talking of the VW CEO giving kudos to the Chinese automakers or the Chinese smart EV companies, saying that they're doing well, which is something that is pretty exciting. But with all this, you know that the current challenge that EV companies or EV startup companies in China have is selling outside of China. I mean, Europe and other countries have been restricting Chinese EV companies to come and sell their cars by imposing some heavy tariff increase onto those Chinese EV cars that find themselves in Europe, find themselves in the US, find themselves in countries like Canada. They've been imposing heavy tariffs, and because of this, these companies are forced to build factories in order to at least waive or at least to be exempted from these tariffs. I mean, even in the US, Donald Trump also said that he does not mind the Chinese car to come and sell their cars in the US, but if they want to sell at a fair price, they need to produce the car in the US, right? And in Europe, you know that they are in plans of imposing tariffs onto Chinese EV makers, which is not good, right? Now, with all this, China just said something important relating to all this, and that is when China EV companies build factories, because some of them have already started plans, have started forming partnerships of building factories outside of China. When they are doing this, they have to make sure that they don't produce everything that side, especially to protect the technology that is found into these EV cars or Chinese EV cars. China is saying they must make sure that in terms of the parts of the car, they still get produced in China and be exported outside of China, and those parts will then be assembled into the car. They are saying when it comes to parts, some of the parts, these companies must make sure that they still produce them in China just to protect the technology or just to make the technology remain in China, which I think it's very important, because if they don't do that, I think what China is seeing is that all those guys outside of China are going to end up copying all the technology that you find onto these cars, which is something that China does not want to see, because they want to continue being the leader in this fast growing EV space. So this is what China just advised EV makers like NIO to do going forward, or to have in mind when they are building the factories outside of China. So I think it's a good idea. It's a brilliant idea, because it gives at least companies or China to remain dominant in the fast growing EV space. I mean, like I said, there is no doubt that all the EV makers or all the car companies globally, they envy the kind of technology that the Chinese EV makers are introducing onto their cars. It's with no doubt, which is why companies like NIO should be worth way more than what they're worth, because when it comes to technology, even on all Chinese automakers, tell me one company that is deploying the kind of technology that we are seeing coming from our very own NIO. Not many Chinese EV can do what NIO is doing, because of the research that NIO has been putting forth. We are seeing the kind of technology that we find onto NIO cars, NIO sub-brand, which is one of the things that is making them to win the market or continue winning the market in China. So NIO, I think this message, it's some of the companies that are directed, or that some of the companies that China is directing this message would then be NIO. I think China realizes the potential that lies within companies like NIO, because, I mean, come on. Over and above the technology that we find onto cars, NIO has been successfully deploying technologies like your battery swapping station, which that technology is so unique to NIO. No EV company globally or no car company globally is deploying battery swapping stations except for NIO, which is why it would be very important that companies like NIO make sure that these technologies that they put onto their battery swapping station, the technologies that they put onto their cars, they make sure that, of course, they sort of like protect that. I mean, NIO already has got a battery swapping station assembly plant in Europe, in Hungary, which is where all those battery swapping stations that you see being deployed all over Europe, they are coming from there. The new CEO did say that making or producing battery swapping station in Europe is much more expensive than making and deploying battery swapping stations in China, which therefore shows you the kind of cost. I don't know if whether already NIO is doing this. Some of the parts for assembling battery swapping station are coming from China, which might be the case, because otherwise we're going to end up seeing every EV company or car company having battery swapping stations, because of they crack the code by studying and analyzing NIO's battery swapping station. So I'm happy, I'm excited about this. I think this is a good initiative from the Chinese government. At least companies like NIO will continue flourishing because of this. It makes sense that they just export all the parts in various places where they have got factories, or in various markets outside of China where they are having their own factories. This would make sense. This will take NIO, or make NIO together with other Chinese EV companies, to continue doing so well. Otherwise, with all that, I just thought I'd just give you this quick updates. Tell me what you think about this news, which, of course, China just uttered or issued to all the new energy vehicle companies, or all of their car companies, when it comes to technology. Do you think it's fair? I think it is fair, because otherwise we'll end up seeing tons and tons of other car companies outside advancing from the kind of technology that we are seeing from, of course, Chinese EV cars. Otherwise, that's all from me. I wish you nothing but the best in your stock market investing journey, and God bless you all.